Good, good, good,
Yes.
good, good. Pour this into your ear. Good, good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tether Radio podcast, the only podcast keeping you from spiraling out into the infinite abyss. We've got episode 14 going this week. I'm Daniel, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and co-host, Joseph.
What's up, peeps? How you doing? Dude, I like how you slid in that, hello, everybody! You were a little... There was some lazy tongue acting going on.
Yeah.
On that,
it's been long weekend, man.
On that intro. Hey, bro, get your shot of espresso there, bro. You know? Okay, well, get in the floor and do a couple of push-ups. We'll wait.
I'm all tongue today, brother.
Man, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing well. Yesterday was a very long day, and I'm glad it's over. And I'm just stoked to be sitting here, ready to talk about the happenings of the world with my broham.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we got some space to cover for sure.
Here, man. How's stuff with you?
Things are good. Things are good. Just man, working, doing the thing. I'm trying to think. Like I think I told you about this. I've been doing a super deep dive on a couple of different JavaScript frameworks, and I'm still doing that, and it is insanely time consuming, but really? But also interesting and fun. So that's kind of where I am. But I know that we have got episode 14, super rad, and man, we got some stuff to talk about.
Here, man. Well, without further ado, man, I'll kick us off with a fun little story that went down in China.
Let's hear about it. Now, the school's just starting up for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's starting up in China as well. Mm-hmm. And so what's up?
So there was a children's nursery in China. Excuse me, in the southern Chinese city of Shenzhen, I guess is how it's pronounced. But anyway, so yeah, parents were very upset to find that when they were bringing their kids back from summer break, that the school had hired a pole dancer to entertain everyone. While
it's like a welcome back party.
Yeah, literally. And the photos in this are incredible because they have a photo of probably kids ranging in age from maybe 3 to 6, 7, something like that.
All right.
And then in the background, you have a woman in like stiletto high heels, like really short booty shorts, and like a midriff top that it looks to be just like swinging on a pole like there's no tomorrow, man.
I don't know, dude. I mean, we post the article so everybody can check this picture out, but he looks really unathletic.
Yeah, I mean, I think they caught him
like it looks like he's just like a dead fish tied to this thing, man. You know?
Well, I don't think they had a super big budget for pole dancers for the fucking nursery.
Right.
But...
Right.
But anyway, so this is actually kind of funny because like everybody's like, "Are you kidding me?" And then you read a little bit further into the article, and apparently earlier in that school year, or I guess in the previous school year, they had 10 days of military, in quotations, activities in which they displayed machine guns and mortars at the doors of the school.
So there is a little clip. Sorry for that background noise there. I clicked on the clip to just watch.
Oh, you're good. Well, actually, I don't think it recorded anything, so.
This is bizarre, dude. She's
is it not?
She's like strutting around in a very sexy way. And and they're like parents holding their kids watching this.
No, I mean, dude, this is just like completely. I don't know. I mean, I understand that there are differences in like societies between between China and the U.S.
Sure,
but like, surely we're not that different than scantily clad dancers entertaining children is I don't know, could be seen as a faux pas.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been in the room when they're deciding this.
Well, and that's what.
So they're like, okay, look, we've got it narrowed down: penis puppetry or pole dancing.
Well, yeah, we're either gonna get like whatever Peppa Pig actors or a pole dancer.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. We're gonna lawn darts, Peppa Pig, penis puppetry, or a pole dancer. But it's just I don't know. I mean, I think that's funny because somebody was working through logically in their head why this makes sense. Because it's not like you push a big red fucking button and a pole shoots down from the like, there's a process here, man.
Well, no,
you
and
gotta call the company. You gotta sleep that night while you wait for them to call you back. They call you back. You gotta,
dude, that was
check
what
budget, like.
That was what people were even more pissed about, is because you can't see in the one clip, or I guess in the photo at the top, or I guess you can't see it in the clip either, but she's literally dancing on a pole that at the top of the pole has the People's Republic of China flag.
What?
So she's literally using the country's flag pole as the dancing pole.
Man, yeah.
You know
like,
what?
I wonder if literally heads are gonna roll.
Yeah, well,
they're gonna roll over this.
Yeah, they decided.
I would think that there's like a category of like shit ain't cool, and like this crosses that line a couple of times. I would say, for like the local minister or whatever,
Yeah, dude. Which they do have in the article that the school is taking 3 different actions. They were instructed to apologize to all the parents. They ordered the dismissal of the director of the kindergarten, and then in the following, or I guess during the school year, they're going to be inspecting the school's conduct. So, but the best part is they actually, just as a little tidbit at the end of the article, they said that this actually isn't the first time female dancers have been used at events. Last year, a video emerged of strippers dancing at a funeral, which is often seen as a sign of wealth in the country. So. Yeah,
so I read this article. The last year, I was tracking this. I was tracking this full on, man.
Yeah,
full on, but full on,
full torque.
So anyway, I was full torque tracking. No, so. Yeah. And that does not refer to the amount of traction that my 4-wheel drive had in the dirt, if you know what I mean. The strippers at funerals, the funeral strippers, this is a big deal. It happens a lot.
Really?
And there was like, oh yeah, man. Yeah, there's like it's a whole scene.
That's funny, dude.
And now like we're gonna have to post an article under this on the funeral strippers, because I think people kick out of it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah, there was like the article was like a crackdown, like that China vows a crackdown on funeral strippers. Excuse me, I see the article that I've looked at last night, the article that I was referring to just now, and it was actually February of this year. And by the way, if you Google stripper funeral China, funeral strippers are exotic dancers, usually young women, who sing and dance and remove clothes at a funeral or in a procession to a funeral as a way to celebrate the life of the deceased and to attract mourners.
I mean, dude, that to attract mourners. What?
So hot.
Yeah. God, I hate.
Dude, you should see some of these fucking pictures.
I hate
it's so bizarre. The deceased is in the background, and this chick is like
You know, it's really sad that Aunt Judy passed last week, but damn, did you see the strippers at her funeral?
Yeah, it was, dude, it was so sad until that stripper started crushing tall boys with her ass cheeks. Dude,
Oh, that's awesome.
dude, these pictures are amazing. Yes, we'll get this posted up, and yeah, they've got routines and some far out shit, man. Human beings are so weird, so weird.
It's just so weird that we're no kidding. All of us obviously are human beings, but our societies can differ so much, you know.
Are you saying human being?
Human beings, like as in like Bush's baked beans.
Right, dude. It's a lot of people don't know this, but it is not being. We are human beings. You know?
Cause, well, and it actually stems back from.
You better roll that beautiful bean footage.
It actually stems back from when people used to have rolling competitions down hills, right. And they'd tuck really really tightly, and they resembled a kidney bean. So
right,
called them
yeah,
beans.
That was it. See, I thought it was because we're really all strung together.
That might have actually been it.
I vaguely remember reading that in a biology book, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's like, we're all part of the same string. Yeah. We're humanist penis.
Humanist penis.
With a B.
Well,
so,
cool, man.
So let's truck on here. I'm gonna make sure that we add this funeral strippers to the mix, because I think everybody will definitely enjoy that. Okay. All right. So in business news, we had a big one this week.
Yeah, dude.
Second company to hit $1 trillion.
Yeah, I was reading through this, and it is uncanny how just Jeff Bezos has structured this company, or what? Obviously, I don't have much of a business background, but it seems like he has structured this company so ingeniously that, like, I was like, well, okay, first of all, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but yeah, Amazon, following shortly after Apple, is now worth, is valued at actually over $1 trillion.
Okay.
So, they were talking about it in the article, and you would have to take the 14 largest brick and mortar revenues, which this would include like Walmart and like AutoNation, and you'd have to add all of those up to equal what Amazon's worth, which blows my gourd, man. And apparently at the first quarter of 2018, Amazon was actually only valued at it was valued at $580 billion. And so, they basically they have what's known as the Amazon Web Service, or Amazon Web Services, and it's Amazon's cloud, computing stuff, or not cloud computing, but like cloud storage and I guess computing.
Sure.
Cause like, all sorts of businesses, and I know a bunch of the podcasts that like that didn't want to go with like hosting through like an actual hosting website. They use that as their where they store all their data and stuff. But apparently, the Amazon Web Services that aspect of their company, I think I read that it was somewhere around 370 some billion, and so it basically put them into about the 1.2 trillion range.
Okay.
But it's just uncanny, dude, because like you look at this compared to other businesses. And which I wasn't familiar with this term, but price to earnings ratio. Yep. Are you pretty familiar with it?
Yeah. Of course. Okay. Of course.
So apparently, pretty average for that for a company would be 20 to 40. And Amazon, apparently their price to earnings ratio is about 180.
Yeah, so
it's just next level shit.
You're saying stock price to earning.
So it's actually, I was trying to remember.
Because I've got a crazy little statistic here for you.
Okay,
All right.
real quick. Here's the definition for the price to earnings. It's the most commonly used metric for determining a company's value relative to its earnings. So value.
Yeah, so
earnings.
it's the current market price of a share.
Gotcha.
Divided by the earnings per share of the company.
Okay.
So dig this, right? Of 190 countries listed by the International Monetary Fund, listing countries' GDPs. Okay. 190 countries, only 16 have over $1 trillion GDP.
Are you kidding me?
16 countries.
Yeah.
So I don't think, and by the way, Canada is 1.6. South Korea is 1.5. And when I'm saying there are 16 that are above $1 trillion, there are 8 that are above $2 trillion.
So what's the U.S. at? Or do you have that info?
The largest in the world, $19 trillion.
I mean, that is outrageous.
So
what's real quick? Do you still have that data in front of you?
Yeah.
I was just wondering who number 2 and 3 are.
2 is let's see. 2 is the European Union.
Okay.
At 17 trillion. 3 is China. 4 is Japan at 4.8 trillion.
So I mean,
it goes 19, 17, 12. Japan is 4.8.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that people really understand what a feat this is.
Yeah.
Amazon is not that old.
Well, no, and that was, dude, it's 24 years old.
Yeah.
24 years old, a 24-year-old company that has hit like I said, around $1.2 trillion in value.
It's just you're moving at light speed to create that kind of wealth and value, and it's interesting. I was chatting with a buddy yesterday about this. Amazon in LA has actually started running mailrooms in buildings, right? So
they were looking into like having their own delivery service, right?
Well, they've already done this with they have, so as a part of Amazon Prime, they do they hire all these third party folks that have vans and whatever. I mean, people make a full living doing this, right?
Yeah.
And they'll go around and pick up the packages and deliver them or whatever. But now they've started doing this thing where they have like electronic electronically enabled mail rooms or whatever, where you can order something and you'll have it in a couple of hours be delivered to this Amazon mail room that your building is hosting. So I don't think that it's going to be, I don't think it's out of the question at all to see a conversation start to emerge about privatizing the mail and Amazon playing a part in that,
Yeah.
Because, if ultimately the point of the mail is to get you messages through this format, and Amazon already has all this information, I mean, I just don't think it would be that crazy. And frankly, the mail would work way, way, way more efficiently if it were privatized. But, this is one of those situations where, so AWS, I use this shit out of AWS and have for a while. Your explanation was like spot on. Basically, it's this cloud server system. They've provided a variety of different services, but the most popular one, I think, would be the cloud computing, which is, it's literally, you call it cloud computing, but really it's just server rooms that Amazon owns, right? It's like, leasing space or whatever. and so instead of companies having what they call steel in the ground on their campuses, they don't have server farms. Like, it's not common for companies to have some massive IT room anymore, right? A lot of this.
I mean, is that mainly just like, so you're obviously not having to rent that space kind of thing?
I think,
like upkeep, I guess.
Well, I think it's a little bit, yes. Well, the upkeep part, right?
Yeah.
Because running a server farm it's not easy. And so Amazon, if you like read back, I mean, I'm telling you, this is one of the things that just blows my mind. It's like, was this planned or did this just fucking happen? You know what I mean? Like, was this like part of the master Jeff Bezos plan, and it's like, what does it matter really? Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of interesting to reflect on that. AWS came about because Bezos was looking at kind of vertically integrating the server space that they needed. Yeah. And then as they started looking into it, they were like, wow, there's like a whole business segment here. And that's where AWS came from. And what's crazy is Amazon, which just needed a shitload of server space because of their online business, actually beat all the tech giants to the punch. Cause now like IBM has Bluemix and Google has like Google something, web services or something, or Google Cloud or whatever. Yeah. But they literally beat every single huge tech company to the punch on this. Yeah. Like nobody saw this opportunity, and then AWS just came out and just beat everybody. So I mean, these guys are in an amazing position to continue to grow. I mean, I don't think, just personally, no way Apple stays in that $1 trillion. I mean, maybe, but I think the only way that Apple, let me rephrase this. The only way that Apple continues to grow as aggressively as they have grown in the past 2 decades, is 100%, I think, getting into cars. There's no other way. I just don't see it. Because if they're a hardware company and that's what they're doing, like, then, and so I say this because I've got a buddy who has been working on their car program for the past, I don't know, I've known this guy like 3 or 4 years, and has been designing hardware for the top secret Apple, car department or whatever. But I mean, that the future for Apple is like, whatever, like shitty consumer windows to get you to buy more things, like, iPads and iPad lights and phones, right? But they're computers for people that program. I think most people will tell you that the kind of builder hacker ethos that was a huge part of the company in the beginning is kind of gone. You just don't, these machines just don't do what they used to, and they're just not really, designed for builders or whatever. And so with that being said, my point is that, Apple's kind of like this consumer hardware business, which is like crazy high margin, but they're going to have to do something really drastic to stay in that $1 trillion range. Amazon, on the other hand, is all infrastructure. Like the whole company is just like shit that you have to live. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's amazing, man. I mean, I can remember at the end of college, just going to Amazon first for textbooks, going to Amazon first for like a bike part, going to Amazon first for whatever. And I think that's, the way that most people use it. I just think that I think it's really, really fascinating that we are getting to live in the times where we're seeing companies achieve $1 trillion valuation. And it's like
in a quarter of a century.
In a quarter of a fucking century.
Or actually less than a quarter of a century.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, the amount of the number of human beings that you needed, which actually this is actually a fantastic segue to the next article. But the number of human beings that you needed to have value, to have $1 billion of value, like turn of the century. Yeah. And now it's just not that way. Like, you can have very few people creating insanely valuable and scaling insanely valuable systems in your company. So I just think it's amazing, man.
Hey man, it's all about the algo.
How about those algos?
I'm just kidding.
You know, I mean,
but so real quick before we move on, just to give listeners a concept of how big and ubiquitous the Amazon Web Services are. Literally, you've got companies from the smallest, like whatever, somebody running a shop on like Etsy or something like that that's doing like cross-stitching patterns or something, all the way up to the CIA using these services. So I mean, it's just I mean, dude, you want to talk about like, I think moving forward, I mean, AWS is literally, that's going to be their bread and butter, man. So just growing.
Yeah, it will, and other, you know, and other just like really basic infrastructural kind of plays. I mean, it's like the one thing you can't really, that's not really a commodity, it seems like, is the relationship with the customer. Yeah. You know, like companies differentiate their relationships, and that's how they're able to like keep these relationships for the most part. So most everything else in between, like, you know, the Amazon infrastructure and like getting product to people and like managing product while it's in people's hands, that can mostly be outsourced because it's kind of a commodity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do you give a shit who drops the package off at your front door? And not as long as it's dropped off and you get it.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just like, I mean, you know, Amazon stepping into logistics, and like, you know, they were working on this one little bit of tech where they were trying to deliver packages to your car trunk. Did you hear about this?
I don't think so. I mean, well, I remember people. I think, wasn't Amazon doing something about like people being able to let themselves into homes?
Yeah, but exactly.
But like, I guess just with a car trunk as opposed to a home.
Well, it makes all the sense in the world if you think about, like, take Knoxville, right? Knoxville, Tennessee, or take Atlanta, or take LA. Shit, take any big city. Many people that like work in Knoxville or work in Los Angeles or work in Portland or whatever are coming from outside the city into the city.
Yeah.
And the big problem with delivering packages is that, like, when these packages are being delivered, you're not home.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know what I don't know what the exact term is, but we'll use shrinkage, the retail term for people stealing, shit from retail.
Basically package theft.
Yeah, I don't know what the shrinkage is on that,
yeah.
Right? But it's got to be measurable. It's got to be, substantial. And
I mean, I know just in our neighborhood, and I'd say probably over the course of like 3 months, we've gotten multiple like emails and stuff asking. I say multiple, literally maybe like 2 or 3. So it's not like crazy, but like of just package theft stuff that, people just go up and grab the package off the porch and take it. So
yeah, I mean, do you think they'll find out that it was you?
I don't think so, because I'm pretty good at, I wear a fat suit. So if any of them have cameras now.
Right. And they're just like, dude, you're not going to believe
really
this.
portly individual is just jacking packages left and right from our neighborhood.
That's right. That's right. They're like, next on WBIR, a fat cartoon terrorizes a neighborhood by stealing all their packages.
He's been dubbed the Rotund Raider, Package Raider.
I don't know if he's eating them or what. He might just be hungry. But
he mainly goes through your HelloFresh and Blue Apron boxes and pulls out all the sweet sauces.
He just eats the sauces and he stomps the box. It's the weirdest measure. But yeah, hey, let me know if you need help crafting your thief identity. I'd like in on that. I think we can have a lot of fun with fat suits and handlebar mustaches. Mustaches.
That's awesome.
All right, yeah. So this is the last article was a good segue into this one. This is an awesome article from The Atlantic. I don't have any real strong opinions on the Atlantic. I don't read it regularly, but just stumbled across this, and I thought it was really interesting. The title of the article is Why Technology Favors Tyranny. And it moves through this, it's a fairly lengthy article. I would definitely suggest giving it a read if you have some time. But it moves through, just the kind of growth of technology and like where technology, kind of sits in the current, psyche of the public, right? Mm-hmm. And then it kind of moves into, not only where it sits in the psyche, but then how, how kind of government structures of the past that have been very successful. I don't want to say government structures, social and political structures of the past that have been really successful in the past couple of centuries, how technology is like positioned in relation to those structures, and then how that affects, the kind of socioeconomic structures, and then it kind of wraps with this part 3, which is like the rise of digital dictatorships, is what this guy calls, and he starts to go through this. So I'll just kind of just walk you through this
for sure.
Briefly here, but in a nutshell, the article basically chats about the fact that and we'll start with the social and political structures. The social and political structures that really drove the past couple hundred years of quick development and prosperity, prosperity, like shorter development cycles that have resulted in a massive amount of prosperity. Mm-hmm. This goes back to, in many ways, liberal democracy, right? Mm-hmm. So the ability for like a populace to kind of like choose their direction forward, right? Mm-hmm. But an important part of that is that those that are in the center of the bell curve kind of see themselves in the future that they're choosing, right? And so put another way, you're vested. And you're vested because whether this is true or not, you feel that the future leans on you to be able to achieve, the kind of, highest level of success, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things they talk about is like, having, a robust middle class is like the reason that the United States is successful. And because most people are in the middle class, they're looking around and they're saying, we are the reason that, the United States is so prosperous, right? Mm-hmm. And what they're saying about, and the way that he puts it is that, let me just quote this one quote here. In 1938, the common man's condition in the Soviet Union, Germany, or the United States may have been grim, but he was constantly told that he was the most important thing in the world and that he was the future. He looked at the propaganda posters, which typically depicted coal miners and steel workers in heroic poses, and saw himself there. I'm in that poster. I'm the hero of the future, right? Mm-hmm. And then it gets into this idea that now, we're talking about, we have all these buzz terms like blockchain and globalization and AI and genetic engineering and, and all of these terms that are like, don't really have a human face.
Yeah.
And so now it's like very few highly specialized people are creating these technologies. And I hate to use this term because people that are quote futurist use this shit all the time, and I think futurists are just like total snake oil, dickheads. Yeah. But it's like this exponential technology, right? Mm-hmm. Where one person can create something and its effect, is exponential. I mean, like far, exceeds
it comes to mind, kind of.
What?
Facebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's the kind of impact that we're talking about. I mean, Facebook is a really interesting example because it was, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook as a way for, like Harvard folks and Yaleys to like connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a digital yearbook.
Yeah.
And now this shit is like, cramming any ad that'll fit into your eyeball, right?
Yeah.
And so, whatever, engaging in mind control on behalf of the robot that is Mark Zuckerberg. And so, so this is what he's getting into is he's talking about in this article how like the relevance of human beings, like we're getting to a point where the technology is so advanced that it's actually making the contribution of humans less relevant. And another example that he uses
or at least
in this article,
less relevant, or is it literally making it less relevant?
Well, let me give you the example that he uses.
Okay.
By the way, these are definitely not my conclusions.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share this as like an article that was interesting and thought provoking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna have to read this again and frankly, kind of think about it a little bit more before I have an opinion, because I don't know that I have an opinion right now because I haven't had the time to think about it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to present it as just like a series of facts here. But one of the things that he brings up is on December 6th, 2017, last year. I mean, dude, this is how crazy this shit is. This is happening right now. Like right now. Like we are in the middle of the largest technological revolution that you will ever see in your lifetime, and it's happening right now. And it's happening because things like AI, which by the way is bullshit at the moment, it's not a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a marketing term, but computers that are referencing massive databases and doing like optimized things with these massive databases. This is new. I mean, it's big data, like useful big data was not a thing until very recently. And so we're seeing that the confluence of massively fast and powerful computers, huge data that we can manipulate and do interesting things with. Technologies like blockchain, which absolutely can, set us free in a lot of ways, but can also be really enslaving, and I'll get into that at the end of the article. So it's this confluence of this technology that's coming all at the same time, and the impact is absolutely going to be immeasurable. Like we can't possibly know what's going to happen at this stage. But one of the things he brings up is last year, December of last year, Google's AlphaZero program defeated another AI type program, right? Program that was using massive databases called Stockfish 8, right? Now Stockfish 8 was a program that I believe was used to train human chess players, right? And Stockfish 8 had a huge amount of input. Like Stockfish 8 basically used the history of humans playing chess and like moves that humans had made to help train chess players. Well, Google's AlphaZero had no one show it how to play chess. They literally just exposed this to the idea of chess and the rules of chess. And Google AlphaZero program taught itself to play chess, right? So no input from humans. No, there are no humans saying like this is the best move. Like here are 20 great opening moves. Nothing like that, right?
It's just basically giving it parameters and basically saying, hey, find the shortest distance kind of thing.
Yes. So had learned nothing from any human being at all. AlphaZero won 28, tied 72, and didn't lose any matches.
Yeah.
So the point is that as we're creating these technologies, like there is a huge existential question of like how relevant are we once we've created these technologies, right?
Well, plus we're also creating these technologies in the parameters of human thinking.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Because
That's
obviously we created the technology, so it's kind of one of those things that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it's just like, I mean, it's basically like saying, oh, okay, you know, it's software that was developed by humans, so it's inherently flawed because humans are flawed, kind of thing.
right. And I guess, well, it's interesting though, because being flawed at this scale could be hugely problematic for us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, then they
Sorry, I
go,
didn't
he
mean
goes
to
on.
derail you.
No, it's a great point. And then he goes on in this article to discuss just briefly, like, now when you have these massive data sets and you have, you know, these massively powerful computer programs that are making fast decisions based on these data sets, like, that sure as hell starts to set up a really, really great suggestion of the possibility, potentiality of a surveillance state. Right. And so, one of the examples he gives, and I'll wrap up here in a minute or so here. One of the examples that he gives of, like, just kind of, you know, where this shit can go wrong. Mm-hmm. He references an incident in 2017. A Palestinian laborer posted to his private Facebook account a picture of himself in his workplace along a bulldozer. Adjacent to the image, he wrote, "Good morning." A Facebook translation algorithm made a small error when transliterating the Arabic letters. Instead of, and I'm going to mispronounce this, but Yisi Beckham, however you would pronounce that in Arabic, which means good morning, the algorithm identified the letters as Yid Beckham, which means hurt them. Suspecting that the man might be a terrorist intending to use a bulldozer to run people over, Israeli security forces swiftly arrested him. So, dude.
Wow.
Dude,
That's
is like
crazy, dude.
It's thought crime is what the fuck it is, dude.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's Minority Report.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so he wraps the entire thing with Section 4, which is the transfer of authority to machines. And basically what he says is that, like, look, this is all about data, right? And I disagree with the way that he wraps this article, but that this is all about data. And, you know, the less data that the machines have, you know, that's like, we need to be concerned about data protection is basically what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll just read you the last paragraph, but I just think this is really interesting. If you find these prospects alarming, if you dislike the idea of living in a digital dictatorship or some similarly degraded form of society, then the most important contribution you can make is to find ways to prevent too much data from being concentrated in too few hands, and also find ways to keep distributed data processing more efficient than centralized data processing. These will not be easy tasks, but achieving them may be the best safeguard of democracy. Are you ready for this, dude? So. This is why the future is blockchain, period. It doesn't have shit to do with settling some complicated financial instrument.
Yeah.
It doesn't have shit to do with Bitcoin. It really does not.
Well,
go ahead. The fact that these data structures, because that's what blockchains are. They are distributed data structures, right? They are decentralized, distributed data structures.
Yeah.
The fact that these data structures lend this type of functionality where there is no centralized power, dude, it's the only way forward.
Yeah.
And like in a place where, you know, dude, Facebook doesn't want what's best for you. Think the United States government wants what's best for you? Come on, man. That's silly.
You've literally totally named silly. 2 businesses. You know what I'm saying? And they're not charities, so.
It's the government?
No, I'm saying the government and Facebook are 2 businesses.
I don't disagree with you, man. I don't disagree with you. I mean, it's like, I just think that people, like, people think, we've mentioned this on the show before, people think that Google is the internet. Google is when you put something into Google, You are shown the internet that Google wants to show you.
Yeah.
Like, it is curated.
Yeah.
And not only is it curated, but there are also parts of it that are just flat out blocked and you don't know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't have a solution, to recommend. Of course not. But, it's important to be thinking about this. So, anyway, to wrap this, does tech favor tyranny? Tech favors consolidation. Tech favors tech.
Yeah.
And I think that we're entering a really weird universe right now where very, very, very few super specialized people, are building technologies that the rest of us just kind of stumble through life using.
Yeah.
And to not think about when you're downloading an app or when you're, using Netflix.
Specifically a free app.
Right. I mean,
in quotation
marks. If it's free, you're the product. Yeah. That's how it goes, right?
Yeah. Well, and real quick to have a shout back at the Amazon article that we covered a second ago. Think about all the data, because it's mentioned in this that Amazon is appealing to investors because it appears able to dominate any industry it enters through the power of the data it has on Prime members.
That's right.
Because think about it. I don't know if you have Prime, but we sure do. And we order a boatload of stuff off of Amazon. And every time we order stuff, that's just another, whatever little piece of data that can be monetized, It's crazy.
So I do not have Prime.
You don't?
And I do not have Prime, and honestly, I rarely use Amazon. And the absolute only reason is because of this.
Yeah.
It is the only reason that I will go to a shittier website and order stuff. Yeah. And it's but I mean, that is absurd for me to think. If these dudes want it, they got it. And you're not protecting yourself by ordering from some dookie website. Instead, you're just giving your credit card to a Russian hacker. Right?
I was gonna say the last time I used whatever, I was doing price tracking or something and found, I think I was trying to order some kind of camera part for Megan or something like that, and it was $50 cheaper on this garbage website. As soon as I ordered it, weird stuff started happening. My card got charged twice, this, that, and the other. Finally, I ended up just having to contact them over the course of a week or something, and just get them to refund everything and just don't even mess with it. I don't even care, kind of thing. Because it was just like you said, it was just not a very good experience. Let me put it that way.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Man.
I totally understand where you're coming from in regards to. I mean, hell, that's why I don't have Facebook. Is because it's I was just kind of I guess I'd rather give my information to Amazon and pay them to give me pay them to take my information.
Yeah, but it's I think it's a little bit easier to kind of to swallow that idea when it's more relevant.
Yeah.
Cause it's Facebook is you don't really know what's happening to your shit. Mm-hmm. With Amazon, it's well, yeah, of course. I say you don't really know what happens to your shit. You do know what's happening to your shit. They take your data and they recommend things they think you'll like. Yeah. Amazon's doing the same thing, but you're actually there to buy things. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the change.
I am actually gaining something from it. So
yeah, and you still are with Facebook in some way, but it's just less obvious or whatever. So yeah. I love this article. I think we are, when you look across the political landscape and you see populism really taking hold, this is one of the big reasons, man. Technology's fucking out of control. People just really don't understand this. It is not in a good place. Yeah. For those that are not, stacking multi-generational wealth off of, some tech idea that it's just not, it's not a friend of the rest of us. It's just, that's a fact. And I don't know, I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing for us to like, think about this. I mean, it's like, I have mixed feelings gosh, I'm drawing a total blank. Unions, right?
Uh-huh.
I have totally mixed feelings on unions, but I think for the most part, it's probably a good thing that like people who, are operating mines can't like force people to work 23-hour days and like force 12-year-olds to be down in the mines and things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, this stuff goes. Life is a pendulum, and it swings really far in one direction and then really far in the other direction. This is how it goes, and we're seeing it kind of swing back. The difference is that technology is so far embedded that it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think what we'll see are kind of answers to, this more open source and distributed answers to this like highly centralized paradigm that we've all become really comfortable with. And so services like Whisper, services like what's the other one? There are a couple of messaging services, not WhatsApp. WhatsApp, Discord, I think is one.
Yeah.
That are like end-to-end encrypted, whatever. I think you're going to see that. I also heard that Apple on their new phone product, they were going to have a VPN built in. Can you believe that shit?
That's kind of interesting, honestly, because I mean,
these companies are going to have to provide it because people are going to be demanding it. But this is always cat and mouse, right? Like
it seems like,
and now that's what they're tracking.
Well, yeah, exactly, because it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe the whatever service you're using on your Apple device doesn't know where your IP is coming from, but obviously, Apple would not build in a VPN and give up that data on their like consumer. I don't think they would. At least.
Maybe, and I'll give you a brief example, and this sounds so douchebag here, but I'm gonna have to make part of this. I'll have to speak broadly in part of this, right? Because this was a company that I worked with and one that I worked for, and then the story just involves some particular specific names. So I'll just tell the story real quickly. Long story short, I worked for a company that built some pretty deep tech for a car company, right? And a very, very big car company. And this deep tech was for the purposes of basically just to I guess skin it quickly, was for the purposes of collecting and doing interesting things with data, right? And so there is an interesting question where if you are leasing a car, who owns that car, right? And not only who owns that car, but who owns like subcomponents of that car. I'll give you an example. Let's say that there's a device on that car that is like there to register, emissions, right? To make sure that the car past the sales block is staying in standard with emissions for whatever reason. I'm making this shit up, but, and let's say that the car company says, we're going to, if you want this car, you have to have this device on the car, but you're not paying anything for this device.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to collect this data. You're not paying for this device. If you want the car, you have to have the device. So you're signing off that the device is there, but the device is not yours.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so anyway, long story short, that's something that companies are doing to collect your data.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so where they're saying like, we're not going to charge you for this extra piece, but the extra piece is there. If you want this device or this car or this piece of heavy equipment, I was chatting with somebody the other day that works in that industry. Then you have to have this device, and the device tells us what you're doing. And if you're not comfortable with it, don't buy the piece of equipment. And by the way, this is like, way down in the terms of services. So yeah. It's a new paradigm, man. It's a new paradigm. But anyway, okay, let's move on here. let's
All
move
right.
on. Speaking of tech giants, Elon Musk. Did you see Elon Musk on Joe Rogan?
I watched a little bit of the clip. Well, honestly, I basically watched kind of what the main part of this article was. But
Yeah,
go ahead, man. So what was he talking about on Joe? What's Elon got for us these days?
Well, on the Joe Rogan Experience, it was a magnificent piece of public performance for sure. So the article that I brought up to talk about was Elon Musk quadruples down, pardon me, on pedo allegations in wild new emails.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy accused some dude, one of the rescuers in Thailand of the Thai cave kids, of being a pedophile, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, let me just we're going to move through this one pretty quickly, but let me just preface this with saying on the Joe Rogan podcast, we'll put a link to it to make sure that everybody gets it. But dude, Elon Musk is a fucking odd bird, man, for sure, right?
100%, man.
And he's just a far out dude. I mean, he's built some amazing companies, and he thinks in just a really, I mean, obviously he thinks in a way where he was able to intuit and come to certain conclusions that many, many other people weren't. You know what I mean? I mean, that's why these companies are so big and why they're doing what they're doing. And he's like on this podcast, dude, and he's like, he'll just say shit like, well, I didn't say it was a good idea. I'm not trying to sell you anything. You know what I mean? He just they were talking about his company, The Boring Company, right?
Yeah.
They're just bored. And he was like, and Joe Rogan's like, well, how did you start this company? And he's like, well, we just, we got a permit for a pit in LA. And he's like, and then did you have to and he's like, no, it was just a pit. We just dug the pit. I mean, it was just really, it was kind of like, wow, Joe Rogan captured an alien. And then they smoke a blunt, and he smokes this blunt on the thing. So anyway, it's just the guy's in having an interesting time right now. He's wrestling in interesting ways with the media. So he called this guy a child rapist, and he goes into this cave diver. And he ends up sending all these emails. I say all these, a couple of emails, that say that let's see. He says, I suggest you call people in Thailand, find out what's actually going on and stop defending child rapists, you fucking asshole. He wrote this to somebody. He's an old single white guy from England who's been traveling or living in Thailand for 30 to 40 years. Mostly Pattaya Beach until moving to Chiang Rai for a child bride who was about 12 years old at the time. I don't know why this guy's got a bug in his ass about this dude, and I don't know. Maybe all this
it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, maybe all this is true, right?
I mean, do you think this is his insane OCD coming out? That it's just this guy whatever said that his little submarine was a piece of shit or whatever and wasn't useful, and so he's just really just offended and just going after this dude with everything he can muster, or what?
I really don't know. I think that I was laughing about this with somebody last night. We were like, is this guy just sick of running these companies? Just sick of running Tesla, and he just wants out, and he's just trying to figure out a way to get himself fired?
Yeah. It's just so weird.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just far out. The story continues to develop, but for whatever reason, this guy is hell bent, and I don't know. Maybe this cave diver is a piece of shit. Who knows?
Yeah,
I have no way of proving one or the other. It's just such a bizarre thing to see such a high profile CEO, just rolling his sleeves up and choosing this. It's just
choosing to attack this dude. That's, I mean, he's kind of the guy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this diver dude is a straight up nobody.
Again, I don't know. Maybe he saw this guy making out with a 12-year-old when he went. I don't know.
Yeah.
The guy told him to cram his stupid mini sub and it like I think it really upset him. But it's just like, you know, he like told himself to like fuck himself with his mini sub. I think that's like actually what he said. You know.
I mean, but the mini sub's not that small. No, just kidding.
Human body's capable of amazing things. Yeah, I'll give you a website. It's called Goatsy.
It's called Mini Sub.
It's called
Eastern
Mini Seven.
Subs.
It's called Mini Seven. You know,
Mini Seven. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. There are tons of kink sites out there that they're you know, balloons, Mini Seven. You know. Anyway, all right. So let's truck on, man. So higher education. It's always been a shit show. Now it's coming to roost.
Yeah,
what's up?
And actually I'm using this article from, and I don't know exactly who this is, but it's Why with 2 Y's. Have you heard of this website? I mean,
no.
it links out to literally U.S. News and World Report. So I mean, like the information that they're giving, I think is, I mean, it's secondhand, but it seems accurate because I kind of cross-reference some stuff. So
yeah, I think you're good. You're good. You're good on the relevancy of the information.
Yeah. So anyway, the title of the article was "After Temple Scandal, More Colleges Misreport Data, and They Were Stripped of U.S. News Rankings." So a big ranking system for colleges and higher education is the U.S. News and World Report, literally college rankings. And they rank colleges just on all sorts, or they have different categories for the rankings. And I mean, it's anything from like the best value of an education, so that it's, you know, whatever. I guess they're saying something along the lines of, oh, our graduates, you know, end up with incomes of X and they only spend Y on their education. So, you know, it's a high ratio or whatever. And so, Temple was actually found to have been misreporting like and I'm sorry, not the entire school, but Temple's business school.
Business school, yeah.
Yeah, specifically. They had been submitting false data in order to gain higher rankings. And I mean, I know that when I was looking for pharmacy schools and stuff, that was a spot that I looked, just as a reference point that it's like, okay, because, you know, trying to get employed afterward, if you come from a high ranked school, people acknowledge that, and you're gonna get an interview where somebody else might not if they came from a school that's lower ranked or something. Well, so, dude, Temple's business school, and I think it was the Fox School of Business at Temple University. Dude, they had falsely increased or falsely elevated percentage of GMAT takers. They inflated the GPAs. They underreported admission offers so that it looked like they were being more selective. They padded student faculty ratios so that it looked like there was a high or a lower student to faculty member ratio. And they also reported false information about students' debt levels. And so, I mean, like, basically, all the big things that you tick off to gain a higher ranking, they were just fudging numbers to the point to where they were ranked. I think it said that they were actually number 1 for the past 4 years, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And so,
number
I mean,
one in what?
The number 1 business school or maybe
in those categories.
In specific not all around, but it was let me find that real quick, because I know that they were ranked super, super high, and that was one of the big let me see real quick, sorry, should have had this ready, but I can't find it right now, but anyway, they were just ranked very, very high. It might not have been number 1, but it was high enough to the point to where it was like you take away these different categories that they completely were falsifying. And I mean, at this point, they've been excluded from even rankings until 2019 because their business school. Well, first of all, the dean was actually he wasn't let go from the university, but his position was pulled, and they basically just allowed him to keep his I think a teaching position or something along those lines. But let's see. Yeah, man, it was just it's crazy that is not. I guess everybody knows how much students that are applying to these schools rely on this, and especially people that are hiring afterward. They will look at these lists, and it matters. It matters a whole lot. And for a school to falsify so much data, I mean, it's just like it's kind of insane. But one of the kind of sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No. I'll save my comment till the end. Go ahead.
Well, no, it was just kind of crazy because so they found out that Temple was doing this, and so I mean they've basically pulled all their ranks and stuff, and then they found out that 8 other universities were also fudging numbers on like just random things. Like, for example, at Hampton University in Virginia. They overstated its 6-year graduation rate for the class that started in 2016 and graduated in 2010 and graduated in 2016. Mm-hmm. And so, they said that they basically, it was a best values school for a regional university for the South. And like, I think it was, up. For instance, their 6-year graduation rate was 66. They reported 66%, and it was actually 56%. Which, I mean, 10% is substantial, in my opinion, to be fudging.
Oh,
like,
dude.
Some of these were kind of, in my opinion, it was kind of just like, I don't know, we're kind of splitting hairs, even though obviously I think that they need to be reporting accurate data. But like, for instance, at Oklahoma City University, they originally reported their 6-year graduation rate at 62%, and it was actually 59. So, I mean, it's kind of like...
Those are huge discrepancies, man. Huge discrepancies.
They are, and I mean, like, I
10%,
guess...
10%, 4%, huge.
True. Well, I mean, like, one of the other ones that kind of stuck out to me was... Randolph College, in Virginia, actually, they originally reported that their average faculty salary was $104,000 or $104,200, and the actual value is $88,600.
So
I mean,
I think this is where we're going to see the first chinks in the armor of the student loan crisis in the United States. Without a doubt. Because people are making insanely expensive decisions based on this absolute horse shit. Yeah. And are taking on levels of debt that affect them for the rest of their lives. Yeah. To achieve these shitty universities that are lying.
Yeah. No, exactly.
And so, yeah, man. And so it's pretty gross, man, what higher ed spots, higher ed institutions, what they've started to implement. Like, it's absurd. Yeah. So, and I would say that this is far more common than this article.
Oh, dude. Well, and that's the thing, is because it's like, I feel like you said, it's the tip of the iceberg. For a fact that other schools are doing this. Now, a story that's very close to home for me is a lot of the data that is reported from these schools is they're going off of self-reported data from their students. For instance, in my class, my graduating class, I think we had around 100 and I want to say around 100. We'll say 170 for pharmacy school.
Okay.
And I would get hit up, which as I was looking for a job, I'd get an email, man, like I swear once every couple weeks, maybe once a month, maybe, even more frequent than both of those. But, I'd get an email and it's like, hey, or if you're employed now, go to the spreadsheet, blah, 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 write in, who employs you, and if you'd like to disclose, whatever, like your salary and all this data and stuff that they're wanting. And I like to think of myself at least as being a somewhat private individual, even though we do have a podcast. But the thing is, I never reported, but they still put out numbers,
right?
For our class. And what they do is they just pull it out of the denominator, So it's like, okay, that's going to falsely inflate, people that are getting gainful employment for the percentage for my class. Because
right.
hell, dude, if if you're unemployed, why would you report that?
Right.
It's not something you'd be proud of. So okay, let's say that, you get 130 people report back and they're all employed. Well, damn, dude, or hell, you get 130 out of 140 that actually report back and 130 of them are employed. Well, shit, dude, you're looking at like a 90+%, employment rate after graduation. But they're not telling you that that's not all the fucking students in the class,
Yeah.
So it's just like, but I guess that just kind of comes back to statistics in general, that it's like, man, if you ever see statistics, always look to find asterisks and the legends of the statistics and its origination, who's analyzing them, all that jazz, because you can take statistics and literally make them say whatever you want to. So
right.
And this is just a case in point, man. But it's just, I think that, like you said, man, tip of the iceberg. I think that U.S. News and World Report is actually going to be revamping how they do the analysis for college rankings. And there was another organization, and I thought, no, I didn't write it down. But anyway, so there was another organization that does rankings for colleges, and what they'll do is they'll randomly audit different numbers that are reported, and they'll go to the universities and basically audit them for those numbers before they do the ranking. U.S. News and World Report does not do that currently, which I think that's a really, really, really big oversight, because obviously no college is going to want to report any numbers that would potentially make them look bad. So, I just think it's going to be interesting moving forward. So
it's a huge problem. These guys are self-reporting. There are billions of dollars at stake. They're not going to they are a business. Like, call this shit what it is. Like, it's gotten crazy. People are making, decisions that represent hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Yeah. And, they're doing it on, falsified info. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. So, anyway. So speaking of debt, speaking of money, speaking of debt.
Yeah.
Do you remember a few years ago, actually this may have been last year.
I believe it was last year.
It was last year, yeah.
I think so.
There was this like feel good story that was released where there was a lady, I believe in Philadelphia, I think, and she had run out of gas on the road, and there was like a homeless vet who saw her, stranded on the side of the road and went up to her and was seeing what was going on, and like figured out she was out of gas, and he was like, you're in a bad area, like roll your windows up, lock your doors. And he went and took his last $20, so the story goes, and bought her gas, right? Yeah. And then walked her gas back to her, got her car fueled up, and got her on her way, right? Mm-hmm. So this lady and her husband started a GoFundMe, okay? And and they raised $400,000 for this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
This lady and her husband then started making up these rules for this guy to get his money, right? So they were like, well, you've got to like prove you can get off drugs and whatever, right?
Yeah.
They ended up buying him like this shitty like
Streamline
camper
or something.
Yeah, seriously. And putting it on a piece of property that this dude's like dad owned or brother owned or something. And by the way, I misspoke. Kate McClure and her boyfriend Mark D'Amico. Okay. And so ended up like not giving this guy the money, right? And buying cars for themselves, going on vacations to, I mean, which by the way,
this is a new low, dude.
No, dude, listen. They say luxury getaways, and here's where they've said that their luxury getaways are California, Florida, and Las Vegas. Like, if you're...
So we're clearly dealing with some real highbrow individuals.
I mean, dude, yeah, there's a luxury getaway to, like, fucking
to
Dollar.
Gatlinburg,
yeah, like,
Tennessee.
get out of here, man. Like, what in the hell are you talking about? And so anyway, they jacked this guy, took his dough, gave him like $75,000, which is still a lot of money, $75,000, and then he had to sue them, right? Yeah. And so GoFundMe stepped in and said $400,000. We'll make sure that you get that back. But so it looks like he's gonna win. Excuse me, I had a hiccup coming on there. But it looks like he's gonna win this thing, and it's gonna all work out just fine for him. But man, that is so absurd, dude. Just jack this guy, Johnny Bobbitt. They took
Which
Johnny
is
Bobbitt
really funny.
Why?
Do you remember John Bobbitt?
Who doesn't? Dude, anybody that's our age that doesn't remember the name Lorena Bobbitt cutting her husband's dong off and throwing it out of a...
Wait, wasn't his name John Bobbitt?
Yeah, John and Lorena Bobbitt. And then he actually... Let me look this up let me fact check myself. But I'm going to blow your mind. You ready for this?
Yeah.
John Bobbitt. John Wayne Bobbitt. Okay?
Uh-huh.
He was in a fucking porn after that.
I mean, that makes sense, dude. His, like, for lack of a better term, member is very famous. It's the only one to ever leave its host and come back. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, listen, no, this is that's right. Dude, this is how fucking twisted our world is. His wife cut his dick off because he was abusing her. Right?
Yeah.
Like he was.
But that was like the 90s, right?
It was 1993.
Yeah.
And she chopped Wang off because she said that he allegedly that he raped her. Okay? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Cut his dong off. And then here's an article. A former U.S. Marine believes that he slept with 70 women after his wife cut his penis off. John Wayne Bobbitt became an adult star, got married twice, and was arrested many times for assaulting women before changing his ways and becoming a regular churchgoer. I mean,
jeez,
what
man.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
What? Dude,
God,
you just can't make this.
I mean, that's just
man.
Can't that's just crazy.
Up.
But
we're off topic.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna bring us back real quick.
Johnny Bobbitt Jr. He's all good, and now the other two, like the wife and the boyfriend and the girlfriend are now apparently they've been on Megyn Kelly's show, and they're talking about how that really wasn't the case. They didn't actually steal this. What's amazing to me is that shitbags like this even get a mouthpiece. Like, who fucking cares? You know what I mean? Yeah. Take this to court, figure this shit out, and if some wrongdoing was done, like, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
shit is
No,
just a distraction.
My favorite well, so what was the thing that was just like jumped out at me in regards to this article was that and I can't remember where, if you remember how they are employed, because apparently one of them bought the other one a BMW as a present, and it's like one of them's like an administrative assistant and then the other one's like a janitor or something like that, you know, which I'm sure that, you know, potentially those jobs would pay at least remotely okay, and
Sure.
but not BMW okay, kind of thing. I wouldn't
Yeah,
think.
maybe.
So.
Yeah, you know, who knows? It's just,
Yeah.
you know, when you playing shit, you get some on you, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this bro,
Speaking of.
this bro and his chick, they look they don't look very quality, but we'll see. Can't judge a book by its cover. We'll see how this thing shakes out.
Yeah, dude. But speaking of pulling a fast one.
Yeah,
So-
this is a good one, dude. So what do you do? What do you do when sales are lagging at a seafood store?
Dude, what do you do if you're a fishmonger and your fish don't look fresh? Hey, throw some googly eyes on them. So, a Kuwaiti shop caught sticking googly eyes on fish. So, literally, a fishmonger in Kuwait got closed down because they found out that he was sticking googly eyes on the fish to make them appear fresher. And it's just really, I thought this was hilarious. First of all, because the photos that accompany the article are incredible. Because, it looks as stupid and ridiculous as you probably think it looks. But
Right.
this fish that is definitely not fresh, it has a damn googly eye on it. You know, well, people figured out that the person was doing this because one of the googly eyes slid off one of the fish. So it was just like, it was, I guess, a little too high on the head or something. But dude, it was just this guy, he was, or I guess it was I don't know if it was, I'm assuming it was a dude, but anyway, the seller was advertising fresh fish in quotations without cosmetics, and apparently, like, putting colored contact lenses on fish is somewhat big to make them look fresher.
Man, I don't know.
It's just-
I don't know anything about. I know nothing about fishmongering, but I think that, yeah, man, this guy's in a tough spot. And you know, it's there's no context here, so you don't even know if he just was being funny.
Yeah, right. As he was showing like a customer the fish, he'd be sure to like slightly jiggle it so that the eye would Google properly.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other funny thing was apparently in July there was another Kuwaiti fishmonger that was accused of stuffing his fish with steel nails to increase the weight and market value. Which I feel like that would be pretty easy to like oust somebody on. Like, I got this fish home and it was full of nails. Like, what the hell's the deal, man?
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know. You know, they eat. They eat the things that float down. And how was I supposed to know? You know? You're like, really? You didn't know he was a fistful of finishing nails? I don't think so. You know? Come on, man.
But I guess the moral to this story is as one Twitter user decided to chime in, never judge the freshness of a fish by the googliness of their eyes. So there you go. if those aren't words to live your life by, you know. Right.
I mean, that's I think that's something. Let's just take a second. I think we all just need to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Right,
yeah.
that really
that's going to be a
sunk
guiding
in.
light. That's going to be a guiding light. Oh man. All right. So we are at the top of this episode number 14. This has been most excellent. appreciate everybody tuning in today for Tether episode 14. We are, of course, going to grab our shovels right after this and start, digging the trench for the beautiful piece that we're going to build for episode 15 next week. So definitely join us then. Have our kind of shameless self-promotion that we want to throw out here at the end. If you liked, didn't like, have any suggestions, maybe just want to yell at us or send us some weird pictures or whatever, feel free to do that at tetherradio@gmail.com. 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 You can find us on Twitter at the handle at tether_radio. Instagram is the same at tether_radio. We are on Facebook at Tether Radio, all one word. And man, appreciate you lending us your ears for yet another episode of Tether Radio Podcast. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
And we are going to get our transitions down way better next week. and we will see you in a week's time. Everyone stay tethered. Don't party too hard, and we'll see you around.
All right, until next week, guys. Later.